Hi there, everyone. This is Caitlin Saposi-Belknap. I'm your host, Move to Amend's National Director, coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is where I grew up and not where I normally live, but I am here for the next month or so. And also, I am outside because that's the only place where I can get good enough internet to do these streams and Zoom calls and things. So I spend a lot of time out here on the front porch of my sister's house. And that also means that anytime a dog walks by, or I'm sorry, a person walks by, you're going to hear dogs bark. And I am wearing my headphones to try and minimize that, but apologies that's going to be a thing because it's a neighborhood where people take walks and the dogs across the street bark every single time anyone walks or rides their bike by. So as always, you can find us here on the last Wednesday of every month, no matter where I am, at 5 o'clock Pacific on Facebook Live and Twitter too. And I think we're on YouTube as well tonight. And we're going to start doing that as well. So if you would rather be over in one of those other spots, you can find us there. Move to Amend is the campaign to pass the We the People Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights and to get big money out of politics. Today, we've got lots of news and events to update you on, so stay put, don't go anywhere. Please share this stream using the hashtag #MoveToAmend and hashtag #LiveReport for a chance to win a free t-shirt at the end of the report. I always give out prizes. This month, we're doing our t-shirts. So at the end of the show, if you share the stream on Facebook or Twitter, we'll give away one t-shirt per platform. And all you need to do is just share it with the hashtag #MoveToAmend and invite your friends to come. And feel free to tag people as well. Make sure that they know that you're here. And also feel free to say hello. I should be able to see the comments from every single platform. So for example, hey, Andrea, I see you there. Welcome. Great to have you guys tuning in. And looking forward to getting into it with you. So first up, as always, well, actually, last thing I want to say, you can ask me questions at any time, so feel free to type those in. And here we go, dogs. The other thing that's kind of nice about doing this here, though, is that everybody always waves when they walk by. If I was in Sacramento, where I live, sitting on the front, in my front porch, people do not wave when they walk by. So a little bit nicer here in Santa Fe, but also hearing dogs and children in the background is part of the deal. So as I was saying, ask me your questions anytime. I'll take them at the end, but feel free to type them in as they come up. So we're going to go up first to corporate rule news, and I'll be with you in a sec for that. So I think it's day 111 of life during the coronavirus pandemic in the United States, where people keep losing their jobs, their homes, their livelihoods, but corporations and the super rich are living their best lives, making a killing out of this catastrophe. And much of it is under the lead of ALEC. For those of you who don't know who or what ALEC is the American Legislative Exchange Council. It's a corporate pay-to-play operation where legislators and corporate lobbyists vote to get together behind closed doors and adopt model legislation on a broad range of public policy issues. And then our legislators at the state and federal level, after being wined and dined and hanging out at golf courses and things like that, pass the legislation that ALEC has put in front of them. So this giant lobby front group is playing a leading role in this campaign called Save Our Country Coalition, which is a right-wing movement to push for early reopening of the economy and communities amidst the pandemic that has already cost the United States over 100,000 lives. Disaster capitalism also is not a tradition just in the United States. Countries from around the world could soon face a wave of multi-million-dollar lawsuits from multinational corporations claiming that they deserve compensation for measures introduced to protect people from COVID-19 and the economic fallout. Yeah. So according to the research, what we're learning is that 20 of the world's top law firms are preparing to cash in on the pandemic by helping corporations sue states and countries for health and economic relief measures that have eaten into their profits. And they are lawyering up to sue governments for doing their job protecting people during this pandemic. This is just wow. And this is what we're not even through it. We don't even know really how this is all going to end up and go and how long it's going to take. But giant law firms are teaming up with the biggest companies in the world to sue our governments for not so much our government, because our government has barely protected us at the national level, but in other countries and also at the state level here in the United States. So it's a real clear example of the parallel justice system for the rich that exists everywhere. So back to the United States, the White House is aiming to tighten access for federal food stamps benefits, and it has appealed a federal judge's ruling that temporarily enabled hundreds of thousands of people to maintain food stamp benefits during the coronavirus pandemic. And while the Trump administration is trying to starve a huge chunk of the nation while silver spoon feeding the billionaire class and quietly allocating 135 billion, yes, that's billion with a B, for the likes of wealthy real estate developers, including Trump's own family, in the economic rescue package, the first economic rescue package that was passed. So how is this even possible? I know that you probably have been following this, but nothing is showing the situation of corporate control and corruption of our government. And in fact, it's almost impossible to really call it corruption when it's really working the way that it was designed to work. Of course, Trump is capitalizing on it and making it worse, and Republicans in Congress are helping with that. But lo and behold, the Democrats are actually on board. The relief packages that have been passed so far have been pretty much unanimously passed by everyone in both parties. It doesn't really matter. The excuse is used that they need to provide relief to people, and yet they could be holding out and making sure that there aren't these giant bailouts for corporations. So let's go through some of them. The $135 billion Billionaires giveaway lets rich business owners with other sources of income dodge their taxes. Wealthy owners can use losses from their businesses to cancel out other non-business income, whether it's a sky-high salary or hefty investment gain from stocks, and thereby lower their taxes. Oftentimes, these businesses only exist on paper. Only couples with $500,000 of non-business income or individuals with $250,000 benefit from the Billionaires giveaway. The average business owner makes much more modest income from other sources, and with more modest income from other sources because already use business losses to reduce their taxes. The Billionaire giveaway lets rich business owners exploit losses unrelated to the pandemic. Business losses racked up in 2018 and 2019 when the economy was booming can be used to wipe out old tax liabilities and generate big refunds. And the Billionaire giveaway comes with no strings attached. So these billionaire businesses don't have to promise to keep workers on the payroll or pay the money back like airlines and other corporations getting bailouts, or small businesses that are getting the paycheck protection payments. About 82% of the Billionaire giveaway goes to those earning more than $1 million a year, according to Congress's Joint Committee on Taxation. And of those beneficiaries earning more than $1 million annually, the average benefit is $1.6 million. In other words, a single mom juggling two jobs gets one, maybe two $1,200 stimulus checks. I still haven't gotten my first one. I don't know about you. And then pays taxes so that a real estate mogul can receive $1.6 million in tax breaks. This is a dog-eat-dog capitalism for struggling workers and socialism situation for the rich. And it's sickening, and it needs to be repealed. There are some folks in Congress who are seeking to repeal the Billionaires giveaway, but leading Republicans are ferociously defending it. The tax break was inserted in the CARES Act by Senator Charles Grassley, chairman of the Senate Tax Writing Committee. In a Fox News op-ed, he accused those who oppose it of engaging in, quote, class warfare. And of course, it is Grassley who declared war on working families by lavishing tax giveaways to the rich in the midst of a national emergency. So fighting back against it is engaging in the class warfare that he already is employing. And this is just trying to, correct an injustice that never should have been passed in the first place. But again, there are some folks in Congress, Sheldon Whitehouse and Lloyd Doggett are kind of the top two who are leading the fight to repeal this tax break, but it never should have happened in the first place. Where were they when it passed, and why did they vote for it? As of May 7th, their bills are supported by 24 senators, including 6 who ran for president this cycle, and 52 members of the House, which is less members than support the We the People amendment. So that tells you something. In terms of who's really willing to get on board with trying to correct this. And their effort has been endorsed by 194 organizations and is growing. So this is the very thing that we should be calling our representatives and senators about every single day. And we also should be doing that for calling for HJR 48, the We the People amendment, which Move to Amend is advocating for, which makes clear that corporations are not people and money is not speech, and would actually, if it were in place, we never would have had the situation that we're in now, where corporations are the ones who are benefiting from the pandemic and everyone else is pretty much left out to dry. The money that was passed in the CARES Act was intended to rescue small businesses, or at least that's what they told us. And it's not going, meanwhile, countless numbers of local businesses are going under. We're not able to get the relief. And instead, giant corporations that don't even need it, or that are part of industries that we shouldn't be supporting anyways, that are reliant on fossil fuel, which we should be phasing out of existence, are the ones who are benefiting from it. So please do what you can, and we will be, we are working right now with some other organizations to try and figure out ways to move forward with, effective protest in this day and age, given this, because, Americans all over this country are outraged, but I think people are really having a hard time figuring out how we can respond powerfully. So a little bit more about some of the companies that are benefiting, but are also the same ones that are poisoning and destroying our world, putting profits over their employees' well-being and the earth. Dow, admitting that the floodwaters in Midland, Michigan, and the disaster that happened just in this last month is commingling with toxic chemical storage ponds, which will make the flood have the potential to be a major environmental disaster, which we haven't even heard the full extent of it. And Kroger, who will be eliminating their hero pay bonuses for employees working during the pandemic, kicking those heroes out to the curb. Or Amazon, who shamelessly aired an identical propaganda segment in at least 11 local television stations advocating for themselves. The segment, which was written and produced by Amazon's PR team and recited verbatim by news anchors, presents a fawning picture of Amazon, which has struggled to deliver essential items during the pandemic, support the sellers that rely on its platform, and provide its workers with the necessary protective equipment. Yeah, right. Good try, Jeff Bezos, but we all know that you don't care about your employees. And if you don't believe me, ask some of the employees from his delivery center in Queens, New York, who shut down the warehouse after one employee tested positive for COVID-19, and it was clear that the company was not taking precautions at all to protect the rest of the workers. Let's see what else we got here. And we know what you might be thinking. After hearing all this horrible news, we're all screwed and that there's no way that we can get out of this mess. But at Move to Amend, we actually are trying to think of this as much of an opportunity as we can. Obviously, there's a lot of tragedy that is happening, both economically, health-wise, and the devastation is going to have, long-reaching effects. In fact, those of us who work at Move to Amend are currently on unemployment and laid off, or working to get unemployment in some cases because of the fact that it's such a mess in so many states. So we're struggling with this too, but it is really laying bare what is going on in this country and what has been going on for a really long time. And that can be an opportunity for us if we take it right and if we organize together. So We still are trying to figure out what exactly that looks like, and we don't have all the answers, but we're not going anywhere, and we're absolutely not going to be giving up. And the outrage that Americans are feeling and confusion that people are feeling as to what's really going on is all valid, and actually probably an important step to getting to the bottom of cracking this whole story of what this country has been about, and this myth of democracy and the best country in the world, which has all mostly been built on lies. And to the extent that there are parts of it that are good, that is as a result of people's movements, like the work that Move to Amend is doing and the other movements that we're part of for social justice. And so this is a tragedy, and at the same time happening. And so the way I think of it is we have to figure out how to make this as much of an opportunity as possible to make sure that we don't go back to any kind of normal, because the normal that existed in this country and the rest of the world, but really with the United States and the corporations and our government being the engine of colonialism, certainly during our whole lifetimes, but really for the last several hundred years, is important that we dismantle that, and we take it apart, and we figure out how to go forward in a different way. So our pre-corona existence was not something that should have been normal. We normalized greed, we normalized inequality, we normalized exhaustion and depletion and extraction, and this is not what the world should be. And so we have this opportunity to, as some folks are saying, stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. And we will be working harder than ever to forward not just the We the People Amendment, but the movement for real democracy in the United States, which is so essential for making our country behave in a way that doesn't harm the rest of the world. So if you would like to participate in that, please join us. It's great to see so many people here tonight, and we are, finding ways to organize together online. The best thing to do is to sign the Move to Amend petition at movetoamend.org/motion to get started. And you've been listening to the Move to Amend Monthly Live Report. I'm Caitlin Saposi-Belknap, Move to Amend's National Director. Move to Amend is the campaign to pass the We the People Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights and to get big money out of politics. And I'm happy to answer your questions about Move to Amend and the work that we do, so feel free to type them in at any time. And don't forget that if you help us share this broadcast, some people walked by. Don't forget that if you help us share this broadcast, we'd be happy to help you get a prize. And so retweet the link or share it on Facebook using the hashtag #MoveToAmend, and we'll pick one person from each the Facebook or Twitter platforms, and we'll send you one of our free t-shirts. Next up is updates from the Move to Amend campaign. Before I get into that, I just want to say it's really great to see your comments. I really like this platform that we're using this time. It seems like it's working better. We welcome your feedback, but it's so nice to be able to see friends, new and old, saying hello. So feel free to let me know that you're here, and also anything that you want to ask or add to the conversation, feel free to put it in, and if it's relevant and we have time for it, Alfonso will put it up on the screen so everyone can see it regardless of what platform they're on. Oh my goodness, the sun is bright. It just came from behind the clouds. So I'm gonna try to keep going here and not be blinded, but it's a little bit hard to see the screen. All right, so update on the We the People Amendment in Congress. It's obviously a tough time to be advocating to our members of Congress for a long-term solution, but we need the We the People Amendment now more than ever. So we're still working at it, and now that we have been in this situation for over 100 days, we're going to be able to get back to focusing on lobbying for the We the People Amendment, especially as Congress members are kind of trying to figure out how to have meetings online and over the phone in ways that they haven't done before. So we're going to keep working on kind of those basics. Right now we have 73 co-sponsors. Our goal for 2020 when we started the year was 75. And so we're coming up on June. We're halfway through the year and we're almost to our goal for the year. So that's great. And in the past, we've always been able to actually every year beat it. So we want to do that too, even though the world is a little bit crazy right now. But we're going to keep trying. So we have to keep the pressure up. And with most people now working from home or at least being at home, and in some cases not able to work, it's the perfect time to call your representatives and senators. And, they're used to hearing about stuff related to the pandemic. We are working on putting together some talking points that are related to the pandemic and corporate rule for you to use, but you can definitely call your representative and your senators for anything. And so put it on your calendar and do it every day. Just let them know that they need to sign on as a co-sponsor to the We the People Amendment. And it will impress them that you're bringing this up amidst, the fact that 99% of the calls that they're getting is related to the pandemic. And so this will get their attention as something that's, that is related, because corporate corruption, as I went through in the first segment, is surging. And if corporations didn't have the legal rights of people and the ability to buy our elections and our politicians, we wouldn't be in this mess. There'd still be a pandemic, but our country wouldn't be handling it the same way, right? So look for those talking points, but please get started making those calls right now. We are also still doing our Take Action monthly webinar. So our next one is on June 2nd, and the topic is getting organizational endorsements for the We the People Amendment. So if you are part of any other organizations that have not yet supported the We the People Amendment, this is an opportunity for us to work together. We have a lot of information about how, whether you're working on environmental issues or other social justice issues or prison reform issues or food sovereignty or climate change or there's a connection to corporate rule, and chances are that the We the People Amendment would help further the work that you're doing. And so let's connect, and please join us for the webinar as a good way to get started. And if for some reason you can't make it, don't worry. We always post the recording to our YouTube channel, and you can find past webinars on our website as well. And speaking of past events, we did have our first community call kind of during the era of the pandemic last month, and it is available on our website if you missed that. And we are talking about whether we should do another one like that. So if you have an opinion on that, let us know. We also are, one of the things that Move to Amend has done for years and years is travel the country doing speaking events and organizing workshops on the history of corporate rule, how we came to be in this situation, what the We the People Amendment will do, what is corporate personhood, and why it is so important that we address it, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, we can't travel the country in person these days, but we have taken our barnstorming tours, that's what we call it, virtual, which actually makes it cheaper for us to do, and is with a less of a carbon footprint, and is potentially something that we will do on no matter what the rest of the world looks like. So if you would like to bring a Move to Amend speaker to your community virtually, please let us know, and we'd be happy to organize a barnstorming tour. This is a great way to get started setting up a Move to Amend group. We are structured as a grassroots organization with chapters. We call them affiliates all over the country. And if you don't have one in your community, we would love to work with you to get one started. We can connect with you and potentially your friends or colleagues that you want to work with, but also, we can connect you with other Move to Amend supporters that you may not know yet, and do an event together with, a speaker from our national team, and then also help you get started doing a Move to Amend group in your community. Or if you're already connected with other groups and starting a new one is not what you're interested in doing, at least figuring out how we can work more effectively together and help bolster the work that you're already doing. So if you would like to organize a barnstorming stop. If you've never done something like this, we will help you. Millie, my colleague, is the person who's responsible for that, and you can see her comment right there. Email her at barnstorming@movetoamend.org, and we're happy to get started with you. And if you have another idea for something that is a little bit different from what I've described in terms of like our basic presentation, then let us know, and we'd be happy to set something up that is unique and specific to whatever your needs are. All right, I saw someone ask about the list of co-sponsors. If you go to movetoamend.org/amendment, you can see the text of the amendment and then a link to the congress.gov page where the most current list of co-sponsors to find out whether your Congress member is a co-sponsor yet, and whether you need to call them to thank them or whether you need to call them to pressure them. So continuing on with campaign updates, we are launching a new campaign, Why I Moved to Amend, hashtag Why I Moved to Amend. Actually, sorry, it's hashtag I Moved to Amend. And if you're interested in helping us grow the movement, we have an action for you that you can do on social media right from your home. All you have to do is record yourself answering these prompt questions. It needs to be under 2 minutes because we all know that we don't really watch longer things these days, right? So introducing yourself, your name, your Move to Amend role or role with any other organization, or just kind of how you want to be identified, how you see Move to Amend's work to abolish corporate personhood as integral to the other issues that you and your community care about. What is the next project or campaign that you're organizing with Move to Amend, and what your next steps will be, and what you would tell someone who's considering getting involved with Move to Amend. And then if you end your message with, please sign the petition and make a donation at movetoamend.org, and then count to 10 and end the video. So again, we need these to be under 2 minutes, but we would love to help promote you and help you promote us, work together to get the word out and give you an opportunity to be an internet star. So you can send your video to Millie at movetoamend.org is I think what we've got here. If that's not right, Alfonso, feel free to correct it. And speaking of supporting Move to Amend, I want to remind everyone that it is so important to support, to the extent that you can, the organizations that you care about with financial donation, and Move to Amend is of course on that list. Now I know that everyone is really, not everyone actually, but a lot of people are struggling right now. But if you are somebody who maybe didn't actually need that stimulus check because you are still working and lucky enough to be able to be safe at home and still making money or living off retirement, and you're doing okay, then this is especially to you. But even to those of you who are having to cut back, I know I'm in that boat, but I'm still giving my $28 a month to Move to Amend, and also trying to make sure that I can continue to support the other organizations that are doing really important, especially systemic work right now, because there is so much immediate crisis, and we lose track of the long-term agenda when we which is part of the point of this disaster capitalism response, is that it puts us all on the defensive and sets us back. And so we can't let that happen. And so thank you to everyone who is a monthly supporter of Move to Amend already. Thank you to everyone who has written us and told us that you need to you need to cut back, but you're still going to give. We really appreciate it. And if you are not yet a donor to Move to Amend, even $5 a month makes a really big difference for our organization. We are not funded by corporations. We are not funded by the government. And we are not really funded by that many wealthy people either. There are some people who are doing all right, who support this systemic change. But for the most part, it's working people who are giving $5, $10, $28 a month to support this work. And frankly, now that the presidential primary has, kind of wound down, I'm not going to get into that. That could be a whole rabbit hole. But, one of the things that we have been told frankly, since 2016, is that, folks have been focusing their money on progressives for the most part who have been running in the presidential primary. And now that there are no progressives running in the presidential primary, if you have been giving to any of them, it might be a really good time to move that monthly donation over to Move to Amend to continue the work of fighting to end corporate corruption and corporate rule, and hold accountable whoever ends up in office in November, and keep the fight going. So that is my pitch on that. You are listening to Move to Amend's monthly live report. I'm Caitlin Saposi Belknap, Move to Amend's national director. I'm here every month on the last Wednesday of the month for this report. Move to Amend is the campaign to pass the We the People Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to make clear that corporations don't have constitutional rights and to get big money out of politics. Ask me your questions anytime. Alfonso is helping me catch to make sure I get them at the end. And don't forget to share this broadcast using the hashtag #MoveToAmend to be eligible to win one of our t-shirt prizes. Next up is our dispatch from the grassroots and our affiliates who are doing this work in their communities all over the country. So shout out to the community that I live in, Sacramento, California area. Move to Amend did a great presentation to a Unitarian Universalist congregation in the Sacramento community in Auburn, California. Local affiliate leader Jan joined grassroots director Keon Bliss to tell the story of how corporations became people with constitutional rights and how folks can join the movement to pass the We the People Amendment. Keep up the great work, Sacramento. We heard that the folks were really excited about that presentation and working with you, so that was awesome. Our folks in Alaska, Move to Amend, continued to recruit new members to their state leadership and build their relationship with local indigenous communities. Alaskan grassroots leaders are working hard to pass a state resolution to add Alaska to the 19 other states calling for the 28th Amendment. So we wish them good luck and support their movement building. Shout out to our folks in East Bay, California, Move to Amend, who continue to pressure their Congress members to support House Joint Resolution 48 in the House. They're working hard to win over Representative Josh Hardner, former presidential candidate Eric Swalwell, to join their 78 colleagues in the House who have co-sponsored HJR 48 by asking them questions at in-person and virtual forums that the Congress members are attending. Along with their partners at East Bay Move to Amend, the local Indivisible and labor unions, they've also continued to pressure Senators Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris in helping to introduce the We the People Amendment in the Senate for the first time. Still trying to make progress on that. Unfortunately, the pandemic has really set that back, but I'm hoping to get an update soon on kind of where that stands from our senators. And we really want Feinstein and Harris to hear loud and clear that they should be among the first ones to join that coalition. So thanks to the folks in East Bay Move to Amend for their leadership there. And shout out to all of our local affiliates as they continue to grow and adapt to the current conditions brought on by the pandemic. In Montana, our grassroots leaders with Montanans Move to Amend are making the most of their time at home by writing letters to the editor for local media outlets across Montana. In Pensacola, Florida, our folks in Northwest Florida Move to Amend are engaging in direct action with drive-by art shows highlighting the impacts of corporate rule. And in Dayton, Ohio, folks in the greater Dayton Move to Amend area are practicing phone banking with local supporters and candidates to support the We the People Amendment. So that's it on the campaign updates. I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and don't forget to stay tuned to the end to see if you're one of our t-shirt winners. So let me know, Alfonso, what we've got in terms of questions. And there's still time if you have questions that you're welcome to post right now. Let me know. Looks like some of them were kind of answered as we went. Has Move On supported Move to Amend? Not nationally, and we've had several different conversations over the years, but there are various Move On chapters at different points, especially back when Move On was more had more grassroots power. So if you're a part of Move On, that's still an effort that needs to be done. They have come out against big money in politics and Citizens United, but not yet in supporting addressing corporate constitutional rights. So still work to be done there. Again, this question, where could I find a list of co-sponsors from Scott? I think you found it, but just for everyone else, if you go to movetoamend.org/amendment, you can find the text of the amendment and a link to congress.gov where you can see the list of co-sponsors in the House. Let's see if we've got anything new. Oh, looks like Move to Amend staff team are answering questions also for links and things. So are there any other questions that folks have for me? And I'll give it a couple more seconds just to make sure there aren't. Alfonso saying no. Oh, here we go. Is there a Move to Amend chapter in North Dakota? Richard asks. Not right now. There our folks in Minnesota, Move to Amend, are one of our stronger states, and so in the northern North Dakota communities that are sort of close to the border from Minnesota, there has been some events that we have done and synergy that we have tried to build between the two states, and so if you are in North Dakota and would like to connect with our Minnesota folks, that's often how it's done. If there's not people in kind of a neighboring community yet coalescing, then relying on neighbors. And so I know our Minnesota folks have been to North Dakota a few different times and also have some contacts there already. So we might be able to connect you with folks. So if anybody wants to get involved, the best way to do that is to go to movetoamend.org/volunteer, sign up on the volunteer page, and let us know where you are exactly, and let us know that you're potentially interested in connecting with folks who want to start an affiliate. There's kind of a list of different volunteer roles that you can indicate that you're interested in, and then we'll give you a call and we'll talk about it, and we can connect you with others in your community who have signed the petition, and also let you know if there's anyone else who is interested in starting a group but maybe doesn't have a critical mass yet. So great question. And if you could provide the link to the volunteer page, Alfonso, that would be super awesome. Again, it's movetoamend.org/volunteer for all of you who are listening. So it looks like that's it for the questions. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Remember, we're always here on the last Wednesday of every month, except for when we change it. So next month, that will be June 24th. And it looks like our winners for the t-shirts, Twitter, Morris Steffens, and Facebook, Kendrick Llewellyn, you two both win a t-shirt. So what you do next is send us a direct message in those platforms and just let us know the size that you'd like and your address, and we'll get that shipped out to you. The folks who make our t-shirts in Iowa are still working, and so that's something that we can do this week if you just let us know where to send it and what t-shirt size you'd like. And just a reminder to everyone to please share the petition, invite your friends. We're trying to get to 500,000 signatures here, and we're so close. We're at like 474,000, and so the way that we have done that is through word of mouth and petitioning people on the street, which we can't really do these days, and so helping us share it virtually is so important right now. So please invite all your friends. And then we always end with a hell yeah moment, and this one is a mixed because we try to pick something inspiring, especially after all of the corporate rule news that we do at the beginning of the show. And what we decided to air this time is inspiring in how many people showed up. So I'm sure everyone knows about the police murder this week of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and that it was, on camera, devastating, and also nothing new. But I was blown away last night seeing and this morning the footage of the thousands of people in Minneapolis who came out to protest and call for police to be held accountable and, arrested and tried because murderers belong in prison, right? So they were fired, but that is only the beginning of what should happen. And we all know this story all too well and how it is happening, everywhere, constantly. But the fact that in these pandemic conditions, we saw thousands of people turn out with masks on, socially distancing, being safe. It did end up moving into a riot because the police responded with such an outrageous amount of force. I mean, hundreds of rubber bullets fired at people, tear gas. And I don't really understand how anyone could see the footage of what happened and then show up and respond by attacking the public in Minneapolis who were outraged at their community member being murdered in cold blood. And so all of that is obviously awful, and there's nothing inspiring about that at all. However, what was inspiring to me was seeing thousands of people turn out knowing that it could get them sick, but they tried their best to protect each other, and in the face of an extreme amount of police brutality. We also need to all know that there have been, at this point, numerous instances. The mayor is responding by calling for charges to be brought against those police officers. We know how that almost always turns out, but at some point we will shift it so that Black lives matter as much as white lives in the law in this country. And so that is good that the mayor is doing that, but it is, again, only as a result of this huge public outcry. So we want to leave you with some scenes from and just a news clip from all of the people who showed up last night. And it was only a small number because there were actually a number of people who had already marched off to the police station. So I'll leave you with that. I'll see you again on June 24th. You can contact us anytime between now and then by going to the website movetoamend.org and contacting us through there. You can email us at info@movetoamend.org. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you next month. Thank you so much to Alfonso, as always, for engineering the show and helping with answering all the questions. Stay safe and stay on it. See you next month.
Dad.
We have team coverage of this death investigation, starting with Jeff Wagner, who is live at the scene of the protest. And Jeff, that looks like a huge crowd there.
Yeah, what stands out, Amelia, is it is a huge crowd when you also consider the fact that so many people who are here for the protest have actually joined a march towards the Minneapolis Police Department 3rd Precinct, where people here believe the officers involved in that incident who were fired, they worked at 3rd Precinct. So even though a huge majority, a huge portion has already started this march, you can still see a vast crowd here at the intersection of East 38th Street and Chicago Avenue, right outside the Cup Foods location where that arrest happened with George Floyd, where he potentially took his final breaths. We've heard of a lot of emotional people out here today. Chants of, "I can't breathe." Chants of, "It could have been me. What if it was me?" And of course, no justice, no peace. But one thing people have been preaching here is to stay peaceful. On top of that, to stay socially distant, to wear masks. I think what also stands out about the size of this crowd is in the age of COVID-19, in the midst of this pandemic, for so many people to show up in support of George Floyd and the situation that's going on here amidst everything that's happening with the pandemic, I think speaks volumes about the incident that happened here yesterday and how people feel about it.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Corporations are not people, too. Money is not speech. Men, in fact, it's the root of all. Right now, we have the right to be free. Corporations are not people, too. Money is not speech. Men, in fact, it's the root of all. Right now, up and defend your democracy.
Have you recently read the Constitution? There seems to be some type of confusion. I thought it said the people were the institution and not the corporations that simply want to use them. The truth is currently a fusion of corporate loot and our government that is outright abusive. People need change. The state, it refuses. They're saying we're mistaken, well show us where the proof is. They control the media, movies and the music, and determine where supplies of the water and food live. We need a strategy, here is a solution. Build a movement to give our rulers improvements.